Sonic X Shadow Generations has finally been revealed, and let's just say I'm a little worried. I'm gonna be the boohoo man right now. But let's just get right into it. The game from the outset looks the same, and that's something they were kind of proud to show, at least because that's what they focused on the trailer, that it really didn't change much. At least, you know, that's what I got from the few shots that we saw from the trailer. Now, obviously the main focus was the latter half, but we'll get to that in a second. But even just from the evidence, or just from the trailer really itself, you can even see like how the shadows look the same as it did in the 2011 release. So it kind of points to like they didn't really touch this game much graphically. It leads me to believe that this is more of a straight port than a remaster. Obviously the thing that makes it a remaster is the latter half again, but again, we'll get to that when we get to it. Which it could totally be a port. All they really need to do is just ideally make it run on newer consoles and maybe up the frame rate and let it run higher than it ever possibly could in 2011. This could totally just be a technical update for Generations, really, and I'd be fine with that, considering how or what they tried to do in Colors Ultimate and how that was handled. But this one doesn't seem nearly as rushed or anything. Now, obviously, I did say that I'm a little worried about this, and I'm worried about it in the fact that they could delist the original Sonic Generations release, like how they did with the classic games when they released Sonic Origins back in 2022. So I'm guessing that the same thing is going to apply to Sonic Generations. It wouldn't be out of the norm because that's what companies do now. Now, what they could do is make it where you can still access the old version, but it also pushes you towards the remaster, but the old version is still there. These releases are like a time capsule. Both should still exist, and that's what bothers me. SEGA and all these companies, they're so quick to just take down the old versions because obviously it'll create a value proposition for the new release. Like, this is the definitive version. Why would you ever get the old one when it doesn't even exist? Pew! Get that one even though it costs more, or whatever. Even though it could have drastic differences like how Sonic Colors look completely different to how Ultimate eventually released. Like, you're playing two completely different releases of this game. Both should and can coexist, obviously. I still think that the remaster should have had an option to go back to the old graphics or like the old way that it looked. But considering how rushed that release was, I'm not surprised it ended up that way. So I'd rather they just do a straight port at this point rather than touch it up, because I really don't want them to mess it up. It's so easy, unless they add new stuff like they're doing for Generations, which is, I got to say, the best thing that they could have done, because like, I think everybody had it under their wish list that they wanted new levels, they wanted new things added, and especially, you know, since Shadow is highly requested at all times, he would be the one that worked the best. And I'm glad they went with that because we haven't played Shadow properly in so long. Like, the last time we ever got something Shadow related, it was a couple levels in Forces, and yeah, it wasn't really the best we could have gotten. So I'm glad he's getting a second wind here, and especially like this is a whole new story campaign. Like, he gets its own spotlight. I kind of wish they included Silver in this, which, you know, would be another 06 reference, so I would have added to the thing that Generations is known for, like callbacks and stuff like that. It would have explained how each of them ended up in the white space, or I don't know what it's called exactly in Generations, but how they both ended up there and how they want to fight Sonic. Maybe they think it's an illusion, something like that, something to explain. I think it could have worked. It's essentially DLC that we could have gotten back in 2011, but at least I'm glad we're getting it now, even if it's super late, especially with how graphically insane it is. Like, putting these two side by side is like night and day. Now, another worry in addition to the other two things I worried about is pricing and Denuvo, which at this point we should just expect, or at least be expecting to add that at the last minute like they did with Sonic Superstars, which, in case you missed it, when that game released, SEGA decided to, at the very last minute, by the way, sneak in Denuvo so we wouldn't notice. After we made our pre-order purchases, that's when they snuck it in, which once again, SEGA, it impacts performance and fails to actually tackle the piracy problem.
Anti-piracy DRM actually making the gameplay experience worse. Now, I'm not going to claim I have all of the answers here, but what I can say for sure is that the cracked version of the game Well, I have tested it and there are profound improvements to the stock experience, and the money shot really is here. Same PC, same area, same scenario, horrendous frame times and a collapse to frame rate on the official version, and a gigantic improvement with the crack installed.
It's almost like it doesn't work, and it's proven to not work. It always targets the paying customers and modders that pay for your product, and we always have to just suck it up because you can't do jack shit. You don't take it out, you don't listen, you just leave it there, and then we have to suffer the consequences. And please don't price this more than it's worth. Like, I know inflation is a thing, but at the end of the day, this is a remaster of a 12-year-old game. Please don't be greedy. As I say, talking to a brick wall. It's tiring, to say the least. I don't want to keep worrying every time they release something like this that it'll just have problems, like how Colors Ultimate ended up, when it could have been so much better if they just simply let it cook more or just made better decisions. I just hope for the best, and it seems like at least with this release they took more care and consideration, which I sort of expected since this is such an important game to the Sonic franchise. I would be so shocked if they just treated it like toilet paper and just farted it out like it was nothing. I just hope this is good, and please, for the love of God, just be good, man.